Hey, Douchebag Media, what's going on? Hopefully y'all can hear me. I don't know. I will get started here in just a second. I just want to make sure that this video is shared. Hey, Douchebag Media, what's going on? Hopefully y'all can hear me. I don't know. I will get started here in just a second. I just want to make sure that this video is shared. Hey, Douchebag Media, what's going on? Hopefully y'all can hear me. I don't know. Stand by. We're almost ready. I will get started here in just a second. I just want to make sure that this video is shared. All right. Stand by. We're almost ready. All right. So, hey, welcome. Let me know in the comments there. Well, I'm not speaking. Let's see. Is that a little bit better? I'll try and get the volume up here. How's that? I don't want to make it too high, or else it'll clip on the YouTube feed. So testing on the volume. Let me know. Let me know how it's looking over there. Testing on the volume. All right. So hey, welcome. Let me know in the comments there. Well, I'm not speaking. Let's see. Is that a little bit better? I'll try and get the volume up here. How's that? I don't want to make it. All right, a lot better. Good. All right. I'm going to make one change here. I want to make sure I put the phone number. I'm getting ready to give the phone number for those of y'all watching live. 866-895-6442. 866-895-6442. Or 866-89-LOGIC. So I will take some phone calls during this. If you would like to call. And there we go. All right. Okay. So the phone number now should be in the description or in the title. So if anybody forgets, let me see. Let me see if that worked. Oh, it doesn't look like it worked. All right, well, I'll just do this. There we go. All right. Let's see if I can pin this comment. No, anyway. Well, there's the phone number. All right. Okay. So the phone okay, guys, quick little update. I was at the Capitol yesterday. Rick was at the Capitol the day before. We do have some bill hearings on Monday as well. I'll be sending out an email tomorrow with some updates on what's going on with some of our other bills. But I wanted to specifically talk about constitutional carry in this video as a shareable video. Okay, there. The phone number's now in the video description. Well, if you just refresh, you should see it. If you want to call in. Quick little update. I was at the Capitol give a little bit of update on constitutional carry, both in general and here in Texas. On Monday as well. I'll be sending out so there you go. There's that. That's the purpose of this video. Before I get on to Texas, I want to bring up two other states right now. There's a bill in Idaho that is going to, it's already cleared committee, if you just refresh, that it simplifies the constitutional carry law. So it's heading to the House floor. Idaho, folks. Idaho. Idaho. A bill to simplify the state's so-called constitutional carry law, which allows most adults to carry concealed weapons without a permit. Keep in mind, in Idaho, you can carry openly without a license. So what this does is, of course, adds concealed carry onto that. It cleared a State Affairs Committee on a 13-2 vote. Guess how our constitutional carry is done? Yeah, we haven't had a vote yet. However, bills that were filed after HB 357 had been given a vote. Is it clipping on the audio? Sorry about that. You can carry openly without a license. Outside of city limits. So anyway, what's important is it cleared a State Affairs Committee. Idaho has a Second Amendment bill that is on its way to the House right now. Texas does not. South Carolina, a constitutional carry bill is now before the South Carolina legislators. It lays out some restrictions where a firearm can be carried openly or concealed, such as police stations, courthouses, polling places, daycares, and preschools. So there's a few. Do we have an echo? Texas does not. Hang on, I'm going to figure out where the echo's coming from. A constitutional carry bill is... you know what? I know where it's coming from. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. There should be no echo anymore. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start this over somewhat so that you can share the video with this time hack. All right? So we'll start the video at whatever. That way, when you share it, just share it with this time hack. So a bill in Idaho now has cleared committee, and it's heading to the House floor. I know what I did. I didn't have my speaker up. So it cleared a State Affairs Committee in Idaho 13-2. This is a constitutional carry bill. It is going to allow the concealed carry of a firearm without a license in Idaho, folks. In Idaho. Meanwhile, in Texas, no movement whatsoever. South Carolina now has a bill as well. Now, here's what's important about South Carolina. Now, it hasn't had a vote yet, but it has been sent to a subcommittee. We're kind of lucky that we don't have subcommittees here in Texas because that would just create a whole nother, well, we do have some subcommittees, but they're extremely rare. That would create a whole level of bureaucracy we just definitely don't need. But, of course, we also only have a legislature every 2 years. But the interesting thing about South Carolina and this constitutional carry bill, it might not go anywhere. And the reason I say that is South Carolina is one of the 5 states where open carry is not legal. Actually, it's really only one of the 4 states where open carry isn't legal because Florida has some weird exceptions on when you can open carry, for example, fishing, hunting, and stuff like that. But I want to go over, we have now several states, 17. Okay, I just want to make sure my numbers were correct. There are 17 states now with constitutional carry. House Bill 357. Listen, I need you to share this video. It's because we need people to start contacting their representatives. Contact your representatives. Tell them that we need sponsors, co-sponsors, co-authors on House Bill 357. There is no excuse on why Texas continues to fall behind. Do you realize this year alone, 3 states have gone to constitutional carry? When Open Carry Texas was founded 6 years ago, there were 5 constitutional carry states. Today, there are 17. Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Kansas, now Kentucky, getting ready to sign it into law, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia, Wyoming, and then you've got Montana and Mexico. Now, Montana and Mexico They kind of have weird. A lot of the reason you'll hear a lot of people talk about there's only 15 states is because in Montana, constitutional carry is only outside of city limits. So, and then in New Mexico, the weapon has to be unloaded. And you can have a loaded magazine, but it can't be inside the weapon. So there's 2 states there that some people don't count as constitutional carry, but the fact is, it kind of is. So you've got 17 now. There were 5 in 2013, 6 years ago. There were 5 states. There's 17 now. That's more than a 300% increase in the number of states with constitutional carry. There is absolutely no reason, because this is what makes no sense. I've got, where's my phone at? Here it is. I put this up, and I want to bring this up here on Open Carry Texas about what Texas Gun Sense is putting out to these committees, because yesterday was 1177. And if you caught my testimony, you would have heard my testimony about how sick it was, because the chairman even said, I like your shameless plug there for constitutional carry, but I tried to keep it germane to the bill. What 1177 does is during a time of emergency or a disaster declaration, it allows people to carry without a license if they are being forced to evacuate, okay? So my comment was, I don't understand why we have to wait until there's a disaster. If we can trust people to carry a firearm during a natural disaster, we can trust them to carry a firearm anytime, because the bill specifically said law-abiding citizens. All right? So I've got some, I wanted you to hear, because I've talked to John Lott on several occasions about trying to help us with constitutional carry. And he's always been very engaged and supportive of licensing, because it's easy for a criminologist or a researcher to be able to find facts and figures about license holders, because most states require some form of reporting for license holders. However, John Lott recently testified in order to help get Kentucky to pass constitutional carry. And this is where I'm going to make a shameless plug, guys. I'm getting a hold of John. I've got his number. We would like to bring him here to Texas when we get our bill filed or heard at the hearing. We need your help. We are going to pay for his flight, his hotel, his rental car. Please go to Open Carry Texas and make a donation to help us in this effort, because what you're about to hear from John Lott is what our representatives need to hear. What John Lott told Kentucky lawmakers is what Texas lawmakers need to hear. And it's going to take a little bit of money to be able to get him here. Okay, he's not normally, as far as I know, he doesn't charge like speaking fees and stuff like that. But if we can cover all of his expenses, we're likely to get him here to make the same speech. Texas Gun Sense put out this flyer. I took a picture of it while I was at the hearing on 1177, which would allow for constitutional carry during and in a natural disaster area. Of course, they say, for common sense, evidence-based policies that reduce gun injuries and death. Okay, so they are saying that they advocate for evidence-based policies. And they go on to talk about things that have absolutely no evidence. For example, suspending regulations on the carrying, where is it here? Here it is. People living under these circumstances, talking about a natural disaster, okay? This is Texas Gun Sense, excuse me. People living under these circumstances are often fatigued and understressed. The increased presence of firearms would exacerbate these conditions, in which people are more likely to act in a volatile or inappropriate manner, okay? Yes, K-Med actually talked about Hawaii calling for the repeal of the Second Amendment on my radio show today. So they're saying, this is what Texas Gun Sense. I don't know why I keep saying gun dense. Man, that's just, I guess it just is natural. is saying that people act in a volatile or inappropriate manner. We heard the exact same thing about open carry. Or if open carry is going to be blood in the streets, it's going to be the wild, wild west. Well, keep in mind, again, remember, at the beginning of their own statement, they said they advocate for evidence-based policies that reduce gun injuries and death. Well, guess what? John Lott has evidence.
The concerns that are raised generally that I've been reading about with regard to this constitutional carry bill are remarkably similar to the concerns that were raised back in 1995 and 1996 when the concealed carry bill was originally passed. And as has happened with the states that passed constitutional carry as well as the ones that passed the original right to carry bills, those concerns haven't gone anyplace.
Wait a minute. But Texas Gundance says that they have concerns that the presence of firearms would exacerbate people who are fatigued and under high stress, and that they would be more likely to act in a volatile and inappropriate manner, John.
Those concerns haven't gone anyplace.
Really? So you're saying that Texas Gundance is not using evidence-based policies? You've clearly here said that, I mean, this is research, right? Well, who benefits the most from the getting rid of this licensing? Now, keep in mind, in Texas, there is a bill right now. You'll have to go to opencarrytexas.org, click on the bill tracking. Last session, we got the cost of a license to carry reduced from $140 to $40. Now, let me tell you something. This wasn't our bill. This was the TSRA's bill. Guess why? Guess why they were pushing for this? Because they wanted to undermine constitutional carry. Because one of the arguments that we made was that we shouldn't have to pay for a right. So instead of recognizing that and agreeing with that, the TSRA decided they were going to push to reduce the cost so that we don't have an argument. And so the cost of the license was reduced from $140 to $40, which is what it is now. But there is a bill that would increase it up to $100 now. Well, if you force someone to pay $100 for a license, $100 for a class, $20 or $30 for the bullets to qualify, well, who does that affect?
If my research convinces me of anything, it's basically poor individuals, particularly poor minorities, are the ones who benefit the most from having the option to be able to go and carry a gun. People who are most likely to be victims of violent crime benefit the most from having the option to be able to go and protect themselves. Police are obviously extremely important, but police almost always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred. And the people who are most likely to be victims of violent crime, having a gun is by far the safest course of action for them to be able to go and protect themselves.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Having a gun is by far the safest course of action for them to be able to go and protect themselves.
But police, all we need are police officers.
If my
right?
research
that's all we need is
convinces me that police are obviously extremely important, but police almost always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred.
What?
Police are obviously extremely important, but police almost always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred.
Well, that is so weird. Why can't we just put a cop on every street corner? Why can't we just assign a police officer to every individual? Then we wouldn't need guns. But wait, wouldn't those cops have guns? So why not just allow people to carry? But the point of the matter is, Democrats and the left and the gun dents here, they don't care about poor people. They're trying to raise the cost so that more poor are incapable to exercise their right to keep and bear arms. I mean, let's remember, the entire purpose of our gun control laws here in Texas was to disarm the black man. Every gun control law in this country was initially instituted to disarm the black man, to keep them subjugated. So every gun control law right now is intended to continue that policy. Texas Gun Dents doesn't really care about that. So that was pretty interesting. Now, some other things that John Lott said in Kentucky, talking about crime rates, because you hear all the time, and we have said this over and over and over and over again. All you've got to do is go to the states, and 2010 is about the turning point. That's when these things started to expand a little bit. You can look at crime rates before and after. These are recent occurrences. So John Lott talked about what happens with crime rates when constitutional carry is implemented.
What you find is that there's evidence that murder rates, rape rates, and aggravated assault rates tend to statistically significantly decline. There's no statistically significant change with regard to robbery. And there's no statistically significant change with regard to accidental gun deaths. Those seem to fall, but not by any statistical amount.
I want to play this part again because this is important. Remember, Texas Gun Dents puts on here that they are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that advocates for common sense. We won't even go there. Evidence-based policies, which we've already shown the evidence, there is no evidence, and or evidence-based policies that reduce gun injuries and deaths. So, what does the evidence show?
What you find is that
Sorry
there's
about that. I
evidence
queued that up wrong.
And there's no statistically significant change with regard to accidental gun deaths.
Wait, say it again.
And there's no statistically significant change with regard to accidental gun deaths. Those seem to fall, but not by any statistical amount.
So they fall. And even if you say, because he does admit that it's not by any statistical amount, right? Which means, it shows that it falls, but that fall could be within the margin of error of the sampling and the research. But Texas Gun Sense, says that they advocate for common sense, evidence-based policies that reduce gun injuries and deaths. Well, he just said that's what this does.
Is that there's evidence
it reduces it.
And there's no statistically significant change with regard to accidental gun deaths. Those seem to fall, but not by any statistical amount.
They fall, but not by a statistical amount. They don't rise, not by a statistical amount. They fall. And even if you take out that statistical probability, it doesn't hurt anything. So if you've got a policy that doesn't negatively affect what you're trying to fix, which is supposedly gun injuries and deaths, according to Texas Gun Dents, then you need to revert back to the right to keep and bear arms. So remember, Section 23 of the Texas Constitution is very clear that the legislature shall have the power to regulate the wearing of arms, here's the kicker, with a view to prevent crime.
There are 3 states that have had these laws in effect for at least 5 years. And if you look at the different types of crime and all categories of violent crime, the average rate in the 5 years after adoption is lower than it was beforehand.
All right. So the reason I'm bringing this up, and actually I was going to get into this. It's on my notes here. So Sound Minds just brought up a question that is quite timely because this is exactly what I was about to say. I want to use policy to argue against the policy arguments of the left, of the gun dents. Because the reality is that our statist politicians and the statists who support them and who are pushing for an abolition of our liberty don't care about liberty. So you, in one sense, you have to argue with them on their playing field, okay? The first thing you've got to do is you've got to deflate and defeat their arguments, and that's what I just did. We just provided statistical facts to deflate the argument. Now, the argument itself is baseless. The argument itself is baseless because it doesn't matter. Liberty, it does not matter. When it comes to rights, whether or not someone else abuses that right has no bearing on my rights. So I have a right to speak even if someone else might abuse that right. I have a right to go to church even if someone uses religion to kill people. That doesn't negate my right. So the fact that someone else uses a gun in a criminal matter has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on my inherent, inalienable right to self-defense that is a product of my very existence. So I argue policy to deflate the policy arguments. But when you really, really boil it down, the policy arguments don't matter. We either have a right to exist and we have a right to defend ourselves, or we don't, period. If you say that we have a right to exist and we have a right to defend that existence, then nothing else matters. Everything else is esoteric. It doesn't matter because we have that right. Now you're trying to tell me how I can exercise that right. So as long as my right does not infringe on your right, I have a right to do and live my life, anything I want to do anything I want to do and live my life any way I see fit, provided I don't infringe upon your right to do the exact same thing. I have a right to any firearm, arm, defense weapon I want, as long as I don't use that firearm, that defense weapon, that arm, to interfere with your right to be free as well. Government doesn't have that either, but yet we've given them this ability. And we've got two laws right now. We've got a House Resolution, H.R. 1263, the National Firearms Amendment Act of 2019. This is a bill that has been filed by a Democrat. It's to amend. This is what drives me nuts. To amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to subject to the requirements of the National Firearms Act any semi-automatic rifle that has the capacity to accept a detachable magazine. Why the hell is our right to keep and bear arms, first of all, even contained in the Internal Revenue Code? I think that would be proof right there that they are trying to profit off our rights. Anyway, here's what this does. It bans and adds to the National Firearms Act, which, by the way, this is the same act that prevents you from having a full auto or a silencer, a suppressor or a short-barreled rifle. And it adds the following, quote, a semi-automatic rifle or shotgun that has the capacity to accept a detachable ammunition feeding device. A detachable ammunition feeding device means an ammunition feeding device that can be removed from a firearm without disassembly of the firearm. So, ladies and gentlemen, what the Democrats are trying to do right here is literally ban 95% of semi-automatic rifles. That's what this House Resolution 1263 does. The only shining thing right now, at least as of today, is that there are no co-sponsors. However, this guy out of Florida, for all you Florida people listening, Theodore Deutsch, he's the guy that's filing this bill. As if that weren't enough, right? In Hawaii, they don't even want to have an argument about whether or not a firearm accepts a detachable magazine, because Hawaiian lawmakers have actually signed a resolution or introduced a resolution that would call for repealing the Second Amendment. Calls for repealing the Second Amendment. Here's what the resolution says. Be it resolved by the Senate of the 30th Legislature of the State of Hawaii, regular session of 2019, the House of Representatives concurring that the United States Congress is urged to propose and adopt a proposed amendment to the United States Constitution pursuant to Article 5 of the United States Constitution to clarify the constitutional right to bear arms. Now, that almost sounds good, right? No, it doesn't. We don't need clarification of the right to keep and bear arms. Either we have a right or we don't. But what does the Hawaiian clarification look like? Next paragraph tells us, be it further resolved that the United States Congress is requested to consider and discuss whether the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution should be repealed or amended to clarify that the right to keep and bear arms is a collective rather than individual right, individual constitutional right. So there you go. Hawaii and Democrats are no longer hiding the fact that they want to repeal the Second Amendment. Now remember, all these anti-gun activists, they're always telling us, oh no, we don't want to repeal the we don't want to get rid of the right. We just want people to be safe. They don't even care about hiding that anymore. That is no longer the hidden message. The end game is clear. Only government has the right to keep and bear arms. Oh, and people, if you want to keep and bear arms, you may only do so for sporting and or hunting. And you may only do so with a shotgun. And you may only do so with a shotgun that holds 3 or 5 shells. So that's what we're up against. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 357 has got to move. It's got to. There is absolutely no reason at all that Texas Republicans fail to pass this bill. I know why. It's about money. Bloomberg has dumped tons of money into Texas. Open Carry Texas, Lone Star Gun Rights, these are the only 2 organizations right now actively fighting for constitutional carry. No other gun rights organization in Texas is actively going out there and trying to get HB 357 passed. No one's going from representative to representative, senator to senator, trying to gain support for HB 357 except for Lone Star Gun Rights and Open Carry Texas. Now, Gun Owners of America is helping at the national level, and they've got you've got Rachel Malone, who is helping, and you've also got the National Association for Gun Rights sort of helping. But I'm talking about Texas-based organizations. The NRA is not helping. The Texas State Rifle Association is not helping. Will they testify if we get a hearing? Absolutely. They're going to testify. But they are not doing anything proactive to get 357 passed. Instead, they're working on this nonsense crap. And let me tell you something. When the NRA and the TSRA got up yesterday and they testified for House Bill 1177, which is the unlicensed carry during a natural disaster if you are forced to evacuate, do you know what they did? They extolled the virtues of licenses. They used that opportunity to explain how great licenses are, and license to carry holders are such law-abiding citizens, and license holders are great because they obey the law, and they use the law as a handbook on how to live their lives. But not once did they talk about the fact that we should not have to have a license anyway. That's why when I got up there, I explained that this bill, while I support it, is absolutely absurd, that we have to wait until a natural disaster before the government recognizes that we have a right to self-defense. We have a right to self-defense before a national disaster, during a national disaster, and after a national disaster. But the well-funded groups up there, the NRA and the TSRA, are not actively talking about the unlicensed carry of a firearm. They don't care. That's your update on constitutional carry. This is the battle that we're up against. What you need to do right now, as soon as this video ends, pick up the phone. Call your state rep. Get your friends to call. As a matter of fact, when this video is over with, or if you get off work, if you're listening at work, what you need to do is get a hold of all your friends, pass out the phone number, find the phone number of your state representative. And once you get that, encourage all your friends, say, hey, at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whatever, I need you to call, in my district, Hugh Shine. And tell them to sign on as a co-sponsor for House Bill 357. We need every signature, every name on that bill as possible. And the only way that's going to happen is if everyone gets together and in one day, today, folks, we call their offices in Austin and demand that they sign on to House Bill 357. The way that we got 910 passed, open carry, was because people spoke up. At the beginning of the legislative session in 2015, people said there's no way open carry is going to pass. Guess what happened? We mobilized, folks. We picked up the phones. We have to do that again because I'm hearing the exact same thing right now in the halls of the legislature, that this doesn't seem to be an important issue, that people don't care about that. You have got to get involved and active and loud, and get your friends active and loud. And you know what? You call, then have your wife call. If you've got a voting age child in your house, have that voting age child call. Have your neighbor call. Have your mom call, your sister, your brother, whomever. Everyone today, Thursday, needs to call their representative and get them to sign on to House Bill 357. They must understand that we care about this issue. Okay, for a few minutes now, 866-895-6442, 866-895-6442. If you refresh, if you're watching on, well, you are watching on YouTube. The phone number is in the video description. If you want to call with a question, a statement, or anything, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes. Depending on how many calls we get, I will take quite a few of them if we get quite a few of them. If there's more than one caller at the same time, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. And let me know what you think. What do we need to do? Have you already spoken to your representative? If you've already spoken to your representative, call me, 866-89-LOGIC, 866-895-6442, and let me know what your representative said. There are already several sponsors on the bill. I'm going to give those to you right now that we've got that have signed on to the legislation. So I want to make sure that we give those people the credit that is due, because I think we've got like 13 sponsors right now on the bill. But here's who has signed on to the bill. Okay. Stickland is the primary author. The co-authors are Kyle Biederman, Mays Middleton, James White, and Mike Lang. Okay? Biederman, Middleton, Lang, and White have signed on with Stickland as the primary authors. The co-sponsors so far, Briscoe Kane, Cole Hefner, Matt Krause, William Metcalf, Tom Oliverson, Jared Patterson, Matt Schaefer, Tony Tenderholt, Steve Toth, and William Zedler. Here's what I need you to do. Even if your representative has already signed on to this bill, I need you to call them and thank them. Call them and thank them, please. So even if your representative has already signed on, show them that you support that. Show them support so that they know that the people that vote for them appreciate the fact that they're doing this. And that's all you've got to do. Now, if you don't know who your if you don't know who your representative is, first of all, shame on you. Okay? Go to Capital, that's Capital with an O-L, C-A-P-I-T-O-L, capital.texas.gov, capital.texas.gov. Click on Who Represents Me, okay? And that's how you will find out who your representative is, okay? Or it says, contact my legislator. How do I? Right in the middle there. How do I contact my legislator? All the information is right there. Contact your legislator. That's where you'll get the phone numbers. That's where you get the, if you want to email, well, don't email. Call. Everybody needs to call. All right. 866-895-6442. I don't see any phone calls, so nobody's got any questions or comments that they want to get live. Look, you don't have to use your real name. You can use your YouTube name. I don't care. You can call yourself Annie Oakley for all I care. I'm only going to give this about 60 more seconds if nobody calls in and be done with it. But those are some of the updates right now. Go to opencarrytexas.org. opencarrytexas.org. Please click that donate button so that we can get John Lott down here to testify during our hearing, which I'm hoping is in about 2 weeks. If I wasn't lied to by Chairman Navarez, and I believe Chairman Navarez, as much as he does not support gun rights, in my opinion, and as hostile as I think he is to the Second Amendment, he is still an honorable person as far as I've never had any reason to believe he would not do as he says. So generally, most of the time, the things he's saying he's going to do is undermine our Second Amendment. He has told me a week ago, he told me 2 to 3 weeks we would get a hearing. That means we've got 1 to 2 more weeks before we get a hearing. But we need to be able to pay John Lott to come out here. We need to pay for his hotel, his flight, a rental car, and his ability to come out and testify. So please, go to opencarrytexas.org, send a donation, go to PayPal, send a donation to admin@opencarrytexas.org, admin@opencarrytexas.org, so that we can help get John Lott out here, because I really think that testimony that he gave is one of the reasons why Kentucky was able to pass this bill. And I want you to hear one more time. I'm going to play all 4 of these clips back to back so that you can hear what John Lott told Texas legislators. I'm sorry, Kentucky legislators. And this is what he needs to tell Texas legislators.
The concerns that are raised generally that I've been reading about with regard to this constitutional carry bill are remarkably similar to the concerns that were raised back in 1995 and 1996 when the concealed carry bill was originally passed. And as has happened with the states that passed constitutional carry, as well as the ones that passed the original right to carry bills, those concerns haven't gone anyplace. If my research convinces me of anything, it's basically poor individuals, particularly poor minorities, are the ones who benefit the most from having the option to be able to go and carry a gun. People who are most likely to be victims of violent crime benefit the most from having the option to be able to go and protect themselves. Police are obviously extremely important, but police almost always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred. And the people who are most likely to be victims of violent crime, having a gun is by far the safest course of action for them to be able to go and protect themselves. What you find is that there's evidence that murder rates, rape rates, and aggravated assault rates tend to statistically significantly decline. There's no statistically significant change with regard to robbery. And there's no statistically significant change with regard to accidental gun deaths. Those seem to fall, but not by any statistical amount. There are 3 states that have had these laws in effect for at least 5 years. And if you look at the different types of crime, in all categories of violent crime. The average rate in the 5 years after adoption is lower than it was beforehand.
All right. If you want to see, I'll be putting in the video description once we publish this video the link to that full testimony. I've also just put it in the comments over there, but it will be in the description of the video so that actually it looks like I can do it right now, so that you have the link to the full testimony of John Lott. That way, if you want to listen to everything he said, because I only pulled out some of it, but his testimony in Kentucky on constitutional carry was amazing, and so it's like 13 minutes, I believe, total. But the link to that is in the description of this video, so you can go and watch the entire thing. It's important that we get him out here so that he can give that similar testimony to us. Now, again, 866-895-6442. I'm going to wrap it up as soon as I answer these questions from the chat room. And I'll tell you why. Question up here is, first of all, how do pro-guns keep getting put to him? This is, I don't even, okay, I'm not even going to try. Anyway, that's one of the questions. It says, one of the reasons why pro-gun bills keep getting to him is because the committee that always handles most gun legislation is the committee that Dennis Bonnen, put Navarez in charge of. So if this fails, if Navarez fails to give us a vote or a hearing or both, then this is on Dennis Bonnen, Republican, for putting the most anti-gun legislator in charge of the committee that hears the gun bills. That's why. Clayton Roberts says, why do we need a law for something we can already do? Well, we don't. What we need a law for is to tell police officers not to assault us, not to harass us, not to kidnap us, not to throw us in a prison, and not to throw us in jail, and not to steal our money because we are exercising a right. Can you do it? You can absolutely right now. You have the right under the Second Amendment and under Section 23, Article 1 of our Constitution in Texas. You have the right to go out there right now and carry a firearm without a license. However, the state has deemed this a crime that cops can arrest you for. That's why a law is needed, so that cops leave you alone. That's unfortunate. That's the reality. Police take an oath, but that oath means nothing to them. It means absolutely nothing. They will arrest you anyway. If you think there's a good cop, here's what I would tell you to do, right? If you truly believe that most cops are good cops and they all support gun rights, if you do not have a license, take that, go grab a gun, stick it in a holster. Don't hurt anybody with it. I mean, don't do anything stupid with it. But I mean, just carry a gun legally. Open carry a gun. Go to the police station, ask to speak to whomever it is that you think is a good cop, and let them know, hey, I'm doing a test here. I'm in your police department. It's legal for people to have a gun in here. You're not allowed to stop me. By the way, I don't have a license to carry. I just want you to know that. This handgun that I'm carrying right now technically violates state law, even though it doesn't violate our constitutional rights. Let me know how that works for you. Let's see how good of a cop that cop is. I guarantee you what's going to happen is you're going to get arrested. Because the police enforce the law, not the Constitution. That's why a law is needed. Not to tell you that you have this right, not to recognize your right, but to tell cops to recognize that right. That's what it's for. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It sickens me to death that 37 states allow you to carry constitutionally except Texas. We're one of only 13 that doesn't do that. All right. Still no phone calls, so let me make sure there's no other questions, and I'm going to end this. Yeah. Wingnut Trailblazer says you can go after law enforcement and politicians criminally for violating your rights. Yeah, if you got a lot of money. Sure. Possibly. If you've got money and you can find an attorney that'll take your case And by the way, he's not going to take your case unless you pay him, because he realizes that you're probably going to end up all the way up at the Supreme Court. That's the only way that you're going to end up with that right. And then it's a crapshoot at this point. So, yeah, you can sue cops and you can sue politicians, but I sure hope you have at least, it's going to cost you at least $600,000, $700,000 to get it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And that's up front. All right. I think I've got, hey, Danny Boy, absolutely. Yeah, Kane's one of the co-sponsors, so hopefully you thanked him for that. And he's a good guy. Kane does everything right. Let's see. All right, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to end this. No phone calls, so I'm going to go ahead and end this podcast. Please share this video. Please go to opencarrytexas.org. Sign up for the email list. Also, sign up to send us a donation. And that will help greatly in getting John Lott out here. I've got the link in the description to the full testimony. And if you have any other questions, you can send us an email, admin@opencarrytexas.org. And it looks like our IT guy just walked in, so we can try and figure out what's going on with this clipping on YouTube. So, all right, guys, take care. God bless. Be safe. Be free. We are out.